This podcast is part of the Gonna Geek Network. The opinions expressed may not represent other podcasts or affiliates of Gonna Geek. Check out more podcasts at GonnaGeek.com and get ready because geekiness starts in 3, 2, 1.
You're listening to Crimson Comet, a fan podcast about the TV show dedicated to the Scarlet Speedster himself, CW's The Flash. Welcome to Episode 3 of Crimson Comet. This week we'll be discussing The Flash Season 1, Episode 3, Things You Can't Outrun. I'm your host, Haley, aka Awesome Engineering Girl.
I'm John, aka Lobster.
And I'm Will, aka Rum Daddy.
Eka.
Aka, aka Eka. I don't read cue cards too well.
If you want to check out our website, it's crimsoncometpodcast.com. You can tweet us at Crimson Podcast. You can like us on Facebook on our page Crimson Comet Podcast. And if you'd like, you can leave us a voicemail at 423-FLASH-53. That's 423-352-7453.
And we actually got some feedback this week.
Yay!
One of our listeners, Jesse, a little too clinical, left us a comment on the Gonna Geek page, which you can find by visiting our website, crimsoncometpodcast.com. He said this: I gotta say, you guys, between this and all the other comic book shows and your podcasts based on them, you have a monopoly on my free time. That being said, love this episode of the TV show, love this episode of the podcast, and I have a story.
Do tell the story.
Okay. While I was watching this show, I was alone in the building where my office is located. That is scheduled for demolition, and we're just awaiting the word before we move into our new offices across the parking lot. The heater is broken. It's a furnace in here, so the front door of the building is also open. The door at the end of the hallway behind me was also open. The same moment that Barry got struck by lightning, a gust of wind blew through the front door and slammed closed the door behind me. I gotta give it to the show for setting the tone, because I, as a soldier, have faced down some scary shite, and I don't startle for anything. But in this moment, I nearly dove under my desk. I was scared poopless. Thanks for the podcast and a place to let me tell my story. Looking forward to more. Peace.
Peace up! That was awesome.
The same thing happened to me when I was watching Cabin in the Woods, except the shelf in my closet collapsed behind me right when the psycho zombie torture family is bashing through the door. The closet, like literally behind my head, like everything in the closet collapsed, and I almost shit my pants.
How does one... Oh, well, okay. Shite poopless.
Shite poopless.
So we got that comment from Jesse, and then Mike at Jarek on Twitter sent us a message, said he listened to Crimson Podcast and Starling Tribune for the first time today. Good shows.
Smiley face emoticon.
Starling Tribune is the Arrow podcast that's available on the Gonna Geek Network.
Maybe he's just a big fan of Lobster.
I'm not on that one. I do Gotham Nightline.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Which I'm sure he is a big fan of me, but who wouldn't be?
Who wouldn't?
I'm still waiting for my 8x10 glossy autograph photo.
Of the lobster?
Yes, of the lobster.
Of the lobster.
You should try and get him to sign an actual lobster.
That would be great, and I could just nail it to my
Market
wall.
price. I charge market price.
I just nail it to my wall, and then, of course, 2 weeks later, it would stink to high heaven. But I'd have an actual lobster signed by Lobster, and, you can't put a price on that.
Poor lobsters.
So thanks both of you guys for your feedback.
Yeah, thank you. We love it.
It's always nice to hear from our listeners, and it's also reassuring to know that we have listeners.
I'm just paying my family members. Come on, guys, please.
Pay them more.
Yeah. Call in. Leave comments in iTunes, and not, clean up your room.
Okay, we also have the ratings for this week's episode of The Flash. Its live and same-day viewership was 3.59 million. Which,
holy cow.
It's down from last week. I think it was 4.6 million last week. But it's still doing pretty good for a CW show.
And wasn't the World Series and stuff on this week too? So.
Yeah, there's a little bit of baseball going on.
That thing that is only happening in Kansas City and San Francisco?
I was really hoping it would be the Cardinals versus the Royals. It's really what I wanted to happen.
I can see that. A lot of people on the freeway or on the highway driving back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Yeah, you're going to see that even with really big shows. You're going to see that the first episode of any season is when everyone's going to be watching it, and then the second episode, it's always going to trail off. Always.
Okay, this episode, it was up against the World Series, The Voice, and NCIS.
Yeah.
Oh, well, when you go up against a juggernaut like NCIS, that's actually really great numbers.
And it's good enough for CW to give The Flash a full season pickup, which they did this week.
Yay, we get to keep talking about it.
Woohoo!
Yeah, did they say they were going to do 22 episodes for the season?
I think that's the standard, right?
Right.
Yeah, 22 is standard for a full season.
I just couldn't remember if they explicitly said that or not.
And of course, there's going to be some crossover between Flash and Arrow.
Right.
No spoilers, but Arrow this week had a Flash mention.
Right.
It gives Felicity a reason to take off so she could appear in next week's episode.
Yep.
Cool. I haven't seen this week's Arrow yet, so I'm looking forward to it.
Spoilers.
Everyone dies.
Jeez.
Everyone dies. Everyone finds out that he's the Arrow, but spoiler is they already knew.
Yeah, they already knew. Just like everyone in Gotham City knows Bruce Wayne is Batman.
Or even in Gotham, the show, everyone knows he's going to become Batman.
Well, I mean, you know as a viewer, but the characters don't know.
I feel like they do. I feel like everyone's just like, oh, yeah, totally. It's Bruce Wayne. Yeah, you know, Batman.
Yeah, we've never heard of Batman before, but we know this kid's going to grow up to be him.
That or a serial killer.
It bugs me that we keep seeing him so often, that he's at least 1/4 of every episode.
Welcome to Gotham Nightline on the Gonna Geek Network.
Yeah.
No, seriously, though. This week's episode of Arrow was super good.
It was good.
Arrow, wait, no.
We're on Crimson Comics.
What
We're on
show are we
Flash.
talking about?
We're on
God damn
The
it.
Flash.
Okay, so we had other news. Other news this week.
Other news.
Something that we saw in the pilot that hinted at a potential villain for The Flash. We got confirmation that Gorilla Grodd will appear this season in The Flash.
So, for those who don't know, who is Gorilla Grodd?
He's a big talking gorilla.
Of course he is.
Why not, right?
Does Sling poop? Is that his secret
I'm going to go
arc?
out on a limb and say this is a character that was introduced in the 60s.
I don't actually know that much about Gorilla Grodd, other than he's got to be awesome.
I'm just assuming because I've read a lot of Marvel comics from the 60s, and it's for about a solid year, every other month, at least one comic had a story revolving around somebody using monkeys or apes or something as part of a nefarious plan to take over the planet.
Weren't they teaching apes sign language and stuff at the same time?
Probably.
So they could take over the world.
And
Planet of the Apes came out.
I was going to say, Planet of the Apes came out in 68, I think, so at some time around there. The first appearance of Gorilla Grodd was in The Flash, number 106, in 1959.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Is a hyper-intelligent telepathic gorilla with the power to control minds of others. What?
Of course
This
he
sounds
is.
completely, This is completely ridiculous.
I dig it. I'm ready for it.
At one time, he was nothing more than an average ape, but after an alien spacecraft crashes in his African home, Grodd and his troop are imbued with super intelligence by the ship's pilot. Grodd and fellow gorilla Solivar also develop telepathic and telekinetic powers. Taking the alien as their leader, the gorillas construct a super advanced home named Gorilla City. If they're so smart, why did they come up with such an original name? The gorillas live in peace until their home is discovered by prying explorers. Grodd forces one of the explorers to kill the aliens and take over Gorilla City, planning to conquer the world next. Of course he is. And then Solivar telepathically contacts Barry Allen to warn him of the evil gorilla's plans, and Grodd is defeated.
I feel like that's probably not going to be exactly how it plays out in the TV show.
Although I do kind of like the idea that, like, maybe as Flash develops as a show, there's always like this gorilla city out there in the woods.
I think it's probably going to be more along the lines of like some sort of lab accident at a zoo.
Well, in the pilot, we saw a cage in the Star Labs research facility that was busted open, and the name tag on it said Grodd.
Okay, so I'm going to have to rewatch the pilot then.
Yeah, it was a blink and you'll miss it.
Go all the way back to the beginning and rewatch that pilot. That was so long ago.
I know. So if you blinked and you missed it, it was just gone in a flash?
Quite literally. Gone in a flash. In the blink of an eye.
We need a soundboard.
We do. No, then we'll sound like a morning show.
I think it kind of works for the Flash.
We got Rum Daddy and the Lobster here on...
Morning, everyone. The drive home should be...
Speaking of radio station and call numbers, how many times did you see 52 in this week's episode?
It was all over the place.
It was all over the place. which 52 has a lot of significance in the DC universe, but it is showing up quite a bit in The Flash.
Can you please tell me why 52 is so significant in the DC universe?
They did this storyline where, I'm going to mess up telling this because I don't know. Why did you have to put me on the spot?
Haha.
Well, okay, so they did a storyline where everything jumps forward 1 year. And so they had a limited run series called 52 that told what happened in that time period, 52 weeks in a year.
Oh,
and
gotcha.
the DC Universe just went through a relaunch a few years ago, and they relaunched it as the new 52. So they had 52 titles, all new storylines, and some they did kind of like a
Reset
soft
some
reboot.
of the origins,
Yeah.
except for Batman, which they left completely the same, is what I understand.
Pretty much, yeah. They de-aged some of the characters a little bit.
Okay.
So it's got a lot of significance within DC, and they are certainly, like, every chance they get referencing it. Because the airlock or bulkhead that his, what was the fiance's name?
Ronnie.
Who died? Ronnie. That Ronnie was behind was Gate 52 or something like that. Like, you could see it in the background of the shot.
Oh, and for those that don't know, Ronnie is played by Robbie Amell, which is Stephen
Yeah.
Amell's cousin
Right.
from Arrow.
Who has his exact same jawline.
Yeah.
I mean, he basically looks like a younger Stephen Amell with darker hair.
Yep. So before we really get into this week's episode, we need to talk about Cisco's t-shirt.
I couldn't figure it out.
I couldn't
Yeah, I
either.
couldn't figure it out either. Oh.
I was hoping one of you guys did.
Oh, no, sorry.
To the Googles.
To the
To the Googs, Google. It said drop it. I remember it just said drop it.
Right, and there was like a city skyline, I think.
Right, but I couldn't make out what it was.
Okay. Catbug Drop It DJ t-shirt. I don't know what that means.
So sad. I thought it was going to mean something. We're so used to his t-shirts having meaning. And we're looking for meaning within a t-shirt.
Oh, okay. It's like a little tiny animal DJ, and then it's like music, not a skyline. It's, like music equalizing or whatever.
Right.
DJ Catbug in the house, dropping it, scratching, and making those block rockin' beats. Features a mutated cat and ladybug hybrid on the front with the phrase "drop it" from the hit web series Bravest Warriors.
Okay.
So that's where it's from.
Wah, wah.
Oh, also in this episode, we get a reference to Barry says he doesn't want a museum built in his name. And in the comics, there is indeed a Flash museum.
Funny.
Nice.
So there's that. It looks like they're setting Ronnie up to be a metahuman as well. And in the comics, he becomes Firestorm. And I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if like saying these things are spoilers because it seems
It's known.
speculation.
Yeah, it's canon.
I mean, you can't even look up anything on the Flash on the internet without getting a synopsis of who all these characters are in the comics. So
Right.
I think it's all right.
It's all part of canon.
Okay, so evidently, and I didn't even realize this, I'm looking at a web article about the movie theater that they go to. On the marquee, it says Blue Devil 2. And apparently on the second season of Arrow, there was a Blue Devil movie advertised on the sides of buses. So apparently this is the follow-up to it. It got a sequel.
Because there were so many unanswered questions from Blue Devil 1.
Right. Blue Devil 2, Hell to Pay.
Yeah, the sequel to a horror movie is always so good.
And those come out like every other year anyway, so it makes sense.
Yeah. Or they all went to DePaul University. Oh, no, those are the Blue Demons. Not necessarily the Blue Devils.
All right, any other stuff that you noticed from this episode? They reference Big Belly Burger, which is on Arrow. I thought that was funny.
Isn't that the burger that the dead wife's sister?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or no, dead brother.
Dead brother's wife.
Dead brother's wife.
Diggle's
That's
brother's
Diggle's
wife. Yeah.
dead brother's wife.
Yeah. That he had the hots for a bit.
Until he got
For all
over
one
it.
season.
She worked
Until
at the Big Belly Burger.
And then he met.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't meet.
Then
He
her
went back to his
contract
old-
didn't get
Excellent.
renewed for season 2, and she
Right,
went away.
Right. And then he hooked up with his ex and had a baby.
Yep. Spoilers.
Spoilers!
We have to talk about the main villain of the episode because he is a long-time villain in the Flash comics, but his name is in fact Kyle Nimbus, and they do call him the Mist. So again, we have Cisco coming up with the name for the villains.
It's going to be
Come
his
on,
thing.
Nimbus.
But not quite getting the name yet for Flash. Because he calls him the Streak, doesn't he?
He gets called the Red Streak, but they've said in the cold open to the show, or like the voiceover intro, he says, "I'm the Flash." Barry Allen says in his voiceover.
So how long are they going to play this thing where not everyone accepts that metahumans are real?
Well, I don't think they've had proof yet.
Okay.
Because so far they've had a poison gas attack, a freak weather event, and
just all these anonymous reports of the red streak around town.
Yeah.
Right. They haven't figured it out yet. So I've got a couple quick things because we talked about this earlier, because I've watched this episode twice, but I also watched it while I was watching a million other TV shows.
You just have a wall of televisions. You're like the architect in the Matrix just sitting there.
I'm like the architect in the Matrix. Or actually, because of where I'm working now, I'm more like, what was that Jim Carrey movie?
The Truman Show?
The Truman Show. It's like The Truman Show. Just a big panel.
You're Ed Harris sitting up there in the moon.
Exactly. And I've got a little beret, little French beret, and a little red...
I thought you were going to say French braid.
French braid, yeah. I'm Ed Harris. Turn that camera on. Yeah. But
the moon. I love that movie.
It's a great movie.
I haven't seen it.
Well, it just goes on. I'm not surprised. It just goes on the long list of movies that Haley just never has time to see.
Yeah, we had this exact same conversation on Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. this week about movies I haven't seen.
Because you spend all your time reading comic books, and that's not a bad thing.
Nope. And watching comic book TV shows.
And podcasting about comic book TV shows.
Exactly.
And Doctor Who.
And in between, she uses numbers, because that's what engineers do. They do things with numbers.
Yep.
They count them, they add them, they subtract them. Sometimes they multiply them.
But never divide them.
Never divide them. Because dividing would be divorcing numbers. It's the same thing.
All right, so Will, I think you were starting to get to a point about something, and then we...
I never have a point. No, I never have a point. I'm trying to remember how the show started, because I remember the rest of the show, but because I'm old, I drink and I forget. I'm trying to remember how the show started.
Well, first of all, they did the more arrow open this time. They didn't do the... Yeah, but you already know all that.
Right.
They didn't do that this time. And then they went to the movies.
Oh.
That was where the episode started.
Oh, that's right. They were coming out of the movies, and then he gets a call. Oh, runaway car. People are shooting with each other. Zoom, 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 zoom. Oh, that's what it was.
Yep.
Zoom, 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 zoom. He takes the guy who's shooting at the cops out of there, puts him in handcuffs in the back of the squad car while everyone's still moving. He runs around, and this is something I wanted to bring up from last week. We talked about that they have him in a suit because any other clothes were sparking.
Mm-hmm.
But he wears cotton. In what universe does cotton spark?
I think it's not supposed to be so much that it sparks, because I think that happens even when he's wearing the suit. It's the I'm going really fast effect. I think it's more that the
air friction.
Yeah, it's the friction. It heats up and then catches on fire, like his coat did in the first episode.
You mean like when you're re-entering the atmosphere?
Yep.
Because that would make sense, because you're re-entering atmosphere.
Yep.
Right. It's the exact same effect, though. You're moving really fast. You're building up air pressure in front of you, and it causes friction.
Okay.
Science.
Science.
Science, yo.
Science, bitches.
Yeah, bitch. Science. Yeah, bitch.
Science.
Friction.
Friction, because it's friction, bitches.
Magnets. Yeah.
All right. And then they go to they want to get something to eat, and they walk past an Italian restaurant, which is actually a front for a gang.
The mob.
The mob.
Okay, so their own hitman is posing as a chef, and they don't recognize him.
Right. Do you think he was all shaven beforehand?
Yeah,
because
they showed that mugshot later in the episode, and he looks exactly the same.
And he looks just like the guy who's going to play Victor Zsasz on Gotham in the upcoming episodes.
But that guy's face, I think I would remember him.
Yeah, right?
Be like that creepy stalker-looking guy.
Powder. When did he come back? That's probably another movie Haley hasn't seen.
Yep.
I'm sure she hasn't seen that movie.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Never mind. Bald, no eyebrows. Kind of like Matt Smith the last season of Doctor Who without the wig. But, John, you said earlier that he basically turned into Fart Man.
He basically, his superpower is turning into a fart. And
silent but deadly.
Silent but deadly. He kills people.
Did you guys get the sense, by the way everyone was acting, that the gas was supposed to be invisible?
Yeah. Because they were like, what's that smell? But it's all green.
Yeah, like, oh my God, what is this green gas?
Right, because nobody was reacting to seeing the gas. They were reacting to people, suffocating to death.
Yeah, and also, not to keep bringing up Gotham, but Gotham did...
Too late.
Did green gas this week.
You're right, it did. There was twice I saw green gas.
Yeah. So that's the comic book trope of the week is green gas. We just need the Green Hornet to show up again.
I like when the woman got caught, or the judge got caught in the elevator with the green gas. It's just like when you get in an elevator and somebody farts.
I know, it was exactly like that.
Exactly. Pounding against the wall. Get me out! I was wondering why they were in the mall. I'm like, what's going on in the mall? How's he going to kill them all? Oh, here's the one thing. So the Flash goes, checks him out. When the guy gets in the elevator, he's wearing a trench coat. And he's all gashed and stuff. And then when he comes together again after being gassed, his clothes have changed. Once again, talking about the conversation we had last week, whereas now your clothes have the same properties as you do.
Right, because he was in like a prison jumpsuit for a lot of the episode.
Because that's what he wore when he was being executed, when he changed. So that makes sense.
Right. But when he was in the mall, he was wearing a trench coat.
Well, maybe he left that in the elevator. He didn't take it with him.
Yeah, he just put it on over it, and then it dropped down when he gasified.
Science!
Once he dealt it.
Yeah. Once he dealt it and she smelt it.
Yeah. Which, all right, so that's the least useful superpower you could have, being able to turn into a vapor. I've always kind of thought that would not be... That's like turning into water.
Yeah, you could be defeated by a fan.
Yeah. Anybody with a blow dryer is just...
There were parts in it that I was like, why didn't somebody turn on a fan or something?
Because, okay, I get being able to turn into a gas, but then how do you propel yourself as that gas?
Science.
Because you'd be subject to whatever air currents are in the area that you occupy.
Right, and how do you prevent yourself from just dissipating through the atmosphere?
Or air pressure, like, well, how are we going to contain them? Well, how about a vacuum?
Yeah. I had the same problem towards the end when he was chasing Barry, and he was keeping up with the Flash.
Right.
I'm like, no.
Yeah, or even in the first fight between them, like, Barry should have just been able to sneak up on him and knock him out, you'd think. But it seemed like he was able to gasify at the same speed that Barry moved.
And he neutralized the Tornado Man by just going really fast in a circle. He could have done the same thing here.
Right, I thought that's what they were going to do at the end, but they probably didn't want to repeat what they'd done just in, 2 episodes ago.
Yeah. All right, so dumb superpower.
Well, they basically repeated the same villain. Okay, one of them turns into storm clouds, and the other one turns into smoke.
One of them makes wind, the other one breaks wind.
Oh, you clever bastard.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be here all week.
Tip your waitresses.
Try the veal.
All right, I'm just saying, useless superpower. He looked cool, but not that cool. I'm glad that they spent more time on the character stuff in this episode because the villain of the week was weak.
Right. But I think that Caitlin's dialogue is still terrible.
I agree. She's a bad actress, too.
This is something that Arrow struggled with in its first season, too, is they have these actors and they just, or I guess actresses, like Thea and Laurel's stuff from the first season of Arrow was pretty bad. And they turned into good actresses like in the second and third seasons.
They're learning on the job.
Yeah, and I think this girl, they're like, okay, we're going to cast her, and she'll have to just figure it out.
Right, but it's not just the acting. Like, the scripts are not great either. Her line, I didn't want him to be a hero. I wanted him to be my husband.
Yeah, I know. That made me roll my eyes, too.
Aw, you guys, true love.
That
said, I love Iris.
True love. That one I've seen.
Thank God.
Sandwich. I have to say that I love Iris. Like, her casting they nailed.
Right,
she's a good actress. She
and
does
so
well
is
with
the cop.
material.
Officer Pretty Boy.
Oh.
Pretty Boy.
He's got a great voice, too.
Yes.
You think he's going to turn into somebody, too, right?
Like, obviously.
Yeah. Basically everyone. I think everyone in the show eventually turns into a hero. Like if you, or a villain.
Well,
like
it was the same way with Arrow. Every single person who had a name, you're like, wait, aren't they this other person in the comic? Right. Yup.
Yeah. They're slowly starting to turn into other super characters.
Except for especially Tommy Merlin.
Who turned into dead.
Yeah.
He's dead.
Spoilers.
He still pops up in flashbacks.
He does.
I love that mechanic of the show. Like, they can just drop in characters whenever.
Yeah.
Speaking of flashbacks, we speculated in the last episode that we wanted to see what happened 9 months ago and in the time that Barry was in the coma. Guess what we saw this week in our flashbacks? Stuff from 9 months ago. It wasn't Kid Flash anymore.
It was stuff that happened actually at the time that the thing blew up. The thing with the thing and the goes in circles.
The thing with the thing and the The floaty champagne.
bits. Yeah. That was stupid. The floaty champagne was stupid because that was the only thing affected.
Right. Well, the only liquid. Which wouldn't the contents of their stomachs start lifting up too, but whatever.
So everyone should have thrown up.
Yeah.
Yes.
Everyone projectile vomits at the same time.
And then it just is floating around like on a space shuttle.
Yep.
Pretty.
Hurt?
Just like Drop Dead Gorgeous.
All right, so the line from Harrison Wells, did you catch what he said?
I feel like I've waited for this day.
For centuries.
Yep.
Yeah.
Man, oh man. And then he goes in his secret braille room and looks at the security feed of Barry's lab and sees him get hit by lightning.
See you soon, Barry.
Yeah, but he sees the security feed of Barry getting hit by lightning before the reactor blew up.
No, that was
Barry...
happening at the same time.
Right, there was a storm, and then the storm caused the reactor to go haywire, and then after it went haywire, he went looking around.
Yep. And that's why I think everyone thinks he's in a wheelchair. Because I think when the thing blew up, he went to his secret room, and then he came out pretending to be injured. Or in the wheelchair. I don't know. I don't know how it worked, but he was definitely in that room when the thing blew, and that's how he was protected. But at the same time, he's doing the wheelchair trick now.
Gotcha.
Maybe it's something different. But they said he was injured in the explosion.
Right.
So I don't know if he was in that secret room, which we know is still intact.
So maybe wherever he said he was going was like catastrophically damaged, and that's how he covered
Right.
The room with no seams.
the Braille room.
The Braille room with Braille writing all over the wall. I know towards the end of the show, I wrote down in my notes, oh no, here comes another quote-unquote talk with Joe.
You know what? It's like corny and predictable, but I love it every time.
I do. It hits me right where I live.
Right in the feels.
Right in the fields.
I must be stone cold.
You are. We know you have no heart. It's fine.
I have no heart, just a black hole where it sucks up all the energy.
But then when he was talking with Iris, and she said she likes him, then I will do my damnedest not to shoot him.
I did like that. That was good.
Oh, the speed face thing that Flash did when he was in the prison with his dad, is that a thing he does in the comics?
I feel like it is, because he's able to vibrate really fast and make himself blurry. So
Brown chicken, brown cow.
I guess. Hey.
And this is what it sounds like.
He was also wearing the mask. So I think that's more a thing that he does when he doesn't have his costume.
Right, but if it's somebody who knows him really well, like his dad.
Could recognize his chin.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could recognize people no matter what they're wearing if you really know them.
Unless they're Renee Zellweger.
Oh, Renee.
Okay, so what else did we love about this episode? Because I feel like there was a lot in here. We got a lot of backstory, which I like that they're filling in the gaps.
Okay, why couldn't Cisco reopen the door? Like, if he'd opened it once, what stops him from opening it again?
He could have opened it. It was just...
that he shouldn't open it?
The fire that it was containing probably would have just killed all of them.
No, he couldn't open it because he explained why.
He said, if I close the door, I can't reopen it.
Because it was set off the failsafe or something?
It was under lockdown mode. So once it was shut, he could not reopen it.
That seemed silly to me. It would have been better if they'd been like, I can't open it now because if I do, something will get out or whatever.
But here's the other thing. Did they ever produce a body? Because if they didn't produce a body, then
that guy's not dead.
Yeah, exactly. He's not dead. So how does the
probably,
girlfriend
he's probably presumed dead because they didn't find any remains and where he was at and stuff. Anything that was in there should have been killed.
I think it's a Dr. Manhattan type situation where they assume that he was killed in the explosion, but he's going to rematerialize later.
There are probably a lot of people whose remains were not recovered after the accident.
Including the gas chamber
they're in
guy.
comic book land, and in comic book land, nobody ever stays dead.
Except for Sitwell. He's dead.
Sitwell is dead. I'm with you. We were the first ones to argue that.
I thought Sitwell's Ultron.
The Russo brothers agree with us. Sitwell is dead.
Sitwell's dead. Oh,
right.
Haley, remember back then? Oh.
It was so long ago. We were little podcasting babies.
We were.
When they were doing the fight at the end between Barry and Mist, the giant pillar of smoke made me think of the Lost Smoke Monster, except, green.
Yeah, green. Which I think that would have been more menacing if he wasn't green, or if he was just...
If he were like whitish, blackish, gray, just kind of smoky looking, I think it would have worked better.
And if he could maybe change color.
So now he's a mood smoke ring thing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
It did remind me of the Smoke Monster. It's probably because it's the exact same animation technology that they used in Lost. So, but there were times where when he was chasing Barry around, it was like you could see this little black dot concentrating towards the front, like where the smoke was going, and it reminded me of I Dream of Jeannie.
I have not
Should
seen
come out of the bottle.
I Dream of Jeannie in so long.
Oh my God, we cannot do any cultural references.
She's seen it.
She has seen it.
I have. Not since I was a kid.
I Dream of Jeannie, she would turn to smoke and come out of the bottle, and where the smoke was coming from looked like two tiny, tiny, tiny little feet.
It's fart powers.
Fart powers, activate!
So in this episode, Barry talks about breaking his dad out of prison, and Joe is talking about how, no, they can't do that. They've got to get him out legit style.
The old-fashioned way.
Yeah, legally.
Which I love that he breaks into the prison. He has to break into the prison to save somebody. And then he's like, bye, Dad.
Except he doesn't, because...
Gotta go.
His dad doesn't know it was him.
Right. Which I was kind of wondering for, like, him to say, I know what killed your mother. It was here tonight. Or something like that. Because, I mean, if in fact that was...
Right. His dad would think that was whatever killed her.
Yep.
I bet they might come back to it next week.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's probable.
But it was red, and it was red and gold, and yeah.
Very true, very true.
He changed shirts since 10 years ago.
Right.
You could do it very quickly.
I guess we did have him change on the fly, right? Because he grabs a suit out of the locker, I guess, and changes as he's running to the mall.
So how long before he starts having like a little suit pouch that he carries with him everywhere?
A little suit pouch? Well, I thought he just took it out of his locker at work.
You mean like Superman has a Superman outfit in a tiny little pocket in the back of his... Or he stores his Clark Kent suit in a pocket inside the cape?
I guess. I don't
remember that being a...
I thought he just went into the phone booth and spun around.
Well, I think in the comics I read that he has a ring that his suit comes out of. Does that sound like a
Superman suit?
No, his Flash suit.
Oh, his Flash suit. Oh.
And then he changes really, really fast so nobody can see him, except Superman can totally see him naked.
Nice.
Because Superman can do that.
Yep.
Well, one of the things that this show does and Arrow does is they put the suit on like a mannequin, which I always thought it's got to take longer to dress and undress the mannequin and then put the suit on than to just like put it on a clothes hanger.
Right.
Because a clothes hanger, you can just like yank it down.
If you're having company, you want to display it. You want to put it on display.
But so put up like the spare suit. Like don't put up like the main suit.
Like this is the dress suit.
Since we are talking about this and Arrow, I do have one big Arrow complaint. Arrow pretty much, I mean, as far as within their realm, they try to stay as realistic to certain Smayans type stuff as possible. So his bow and arrow, he had like it in the glass case and display. And I've noticed that this season, his bow is like the size of his hand, and he hits a button and it opens up into this big 6-foot bow. That comes out of nowhere.
He got a new bow.
He got it from Hawkeye. Yeah. He got it from Hawkeye. Because Hawkeye's bow.
Where the hell did he get that?
The Avengers.
Didn't he get it at the end of the season?
Yeah, Felicity made it, I guess, or something.
With her smarts.
Which I kind of don't like. I like the classic curve or recurve bow, whereas the compound bow, it just looks a little too...
modern.
I don't know. Yeah, a little too modern. And like, he used to use the bow like as a weapon, and you can't really do that with a compound bow because it'll just...
snap.
Break. Yeah, it'll just break. They'll come off little wheels and stuff.
I don't mind that he uses a compound bow, but you cannot add mass to something.
Well, it's not adding mass. It's like unfolding.
Expanding. Yeah, it's expanding.
It's like it's like a little collapsible thing. Like those shot glasses that can collapse down.
Right, but then the string wouldn't work. Because you need to have that tension in order for the string to work, so you could release
when it expands, it creates tension in the string.
I don't know science.
It's comic book science, which is a little different than regular science.
It doesn't work for me.
It's all magnets and transistors.
But I am good with a man moving faster than the speed of sound. That I'm good with.
But you're not okay with the idea that the costumes can do it too. Like, you're okay with they can do it, but like, you got to explain how their clothes can do it too, right?
I pick and choose what I want to believe in.
To nitpick about.
We were talking about this on Gallifrey Public Radio about Doctor Who. It's when the science is far enough out there, you can just accept it. But when it's really close to where we are in reality, you nitpick it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I seem to remember you guys talking about that. It's science.
All right, so one of the things that bugs me a little bit with this show, and Arrow, they do this too, is they have Team Arrow and Team Flash where they're always talking to him in the earphone. And I get that it kind of gives him a chance to, he can verbalize kind of what he's thinking, and they can go through the thought process of what he's doing, and it gives the rest of the cast something to do. But at a certain point, I want to see my heroes think for themselves.
Right, we don't need Wells to tell them how to beat the bad guy every week.
Yeah. So I guess I want to see more of that.
So you're asking for your heroes to actually have brains and not just be brawn.
No, it's not even the brawn thing. It's that I don't need the team of scientists to do all the thinking for him. I want to see him think on his feet and use his own ingenuity and intelligence, because he's a smart guy. We know that already. He can figure this stuff out for himself. And also, if he's moving at super speed, how is he communicating with them? Because wouldn't he also have to talk at super high speed? Or is he running really fast and talking really slow?
I don't think that he's talking to them while he's in fast speed motion.
Oh, he totally is. He totally is when he's running. He's talking.
I feel like Cisco probably built some sort of buffer into the communication system.
All right. He Cisco'd it.
Yep. Cisco'd it.
He Cisco. Oh, yeah. There you go. But he would have to talk. It's not so much that he's talking slow in order for them to hear it. It's more like if he's moving faster than the speed of sound, it would be easier for him to show up to where they are, tell them the information, or better yet, show up to where they are, write it down on a piece of paper, and then go back to doing what he was doing.
Well, no, because radio waves travel at the speed of light.
No, I'm not talking about like how the radio works. Like I get that, but it's more like I want to see him think on his feet a little bit. And they've already done the voiceover. We can have some of his thought process rather than, okay, how do I beat this guy made out of smoke? Well, just keep moving. He'll slow down. He could have just thought of that himself and said to himself, maybe if I keep moving, he'll slow down. It takes a little bit of the tension out of it.
Right.
I get that they made an antidote and gave him the antidote. That's fine, but he could think on his feet.
Yeah, I kind of wondering if they're doing this where Wells is always the one telling him how to beat the bad guy. So when Wells becomes the bad guy, it's going to be like a holy shit, what do I do now moment.
Or Wells already knows how to defeat them because he knows how the Flash defeated him.
Yeah.
Because he's from the future.
The year 3000.
So centuries he's been waiting.
He's been waiting for centuries. Which
then who is he? Because obviously then he's not human.
He could be a metahuman.
He could be a metahuman, or he could be a human from the year 3000.
There was another line, I forget what it was exactly, but he said something about, I can't remember the exact quote. Didn't he say something about not being able to die, or not, like, what doesn't kill us, or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I was thinking of something else. Remember. I thought he made an oblique reference to being immortal, but I could be wrong.
See, I wonder if he's, like I said before, like, what if he's not physically traveling back in time, it's just his consciousness that's traveling, and he's done this a lot of times trying to get things just right. So that's how he's lived centuries, is by having his consciousness travel back to this point in time.
Maybe.
He'd be an evil mastermind. He might be from 3000 and traveled back to set things in motion so that, the whole butterfly effect theory, so that when this leads to this, or Sarah Connor, let's kill the mother before the child is born so that he can get whatever he needs by the time time catches up to him. Time is very wibbly wobbly.
This was a good episode. I think that the show is getting steadily better. It started out well, and I think as they're building in the character stuff, it's working better.
My co-host, Elise, on Small Scream, for a living, she watches TV and writes articles about it, and she's said that she always gives every series at least 6 episodes to get into where they're going. And I would tend to agree with that because we're still developing characters right now. And I think that we're going to see in the next 2 or 3 episodes longer story arcs starting to develop. I mean, that was definitely the case in Arrow and a few other shows that I could pinpoint. And I see that starting to be the case as well with Gotham, because the first, I'd say 3-4 episodes are always about establishing characters and personalities and who these people are and where they're going. And then it's, you get into 4, 5, and 6 where you're going to start seeing the longer drawn out story arc. So it's starting to get really interesting.
Right. And I feel like when they get to episode 8, when they're doing the big Arrow crossover, that's going to be kind of a series defining episode. And everything that comes after that is going to be because of the fallout of that crossover. Yeah.
Right now we're still in junior high land. The first semester as a freshman. Oh, who is everyone?
What do you guys think the crossover is going to be like?
First, they're going to fight each other, and then they're going to team up and fight somebody else.
Okay.
Classic comic book crossover.
No, I don't think they're going to fight each other. I think they're going to, because they're really?
Yep.
Is that part of the canon?
It's
part
how
of the lore?
Every comic book crossover in the history of comic book publishing has gone.
Okay.
For some reason,
then I will.
For some reason, they fight each other first, and then they fight the bad guy together.
All right. I'll follow your lead on that one.
And I think the first episode is called Flash versus Arrow. So, yeah.
So, I don't know. I'm still not convinced.
Yeah. It's a crapshoot.
It's like the movie is Batman versus Superman.
Batman v Superman.
V Superman.
Batman 5 Superman.
It's actually a Supreme Court case.
It's just a big Law and Order episode. You're just going to see them walk in with suits, with briefcases.
Speaking of Law and Order.
Jung. Yeah.
I love our Law and Order guy on the show.
I do too.
Every scene, I get choked up when he gets choked up. I'm like, damn it.
And he's like, okay, time for you to feel your emotions. Except for Will, who doesn't have any.
I don't have any emotions.
No.
But when the emotions do come, look out, because it's just going to be a sob fest. But right now, cold, icy place where my heart once was.
All right. Do you guys have any more notes?
No notes.
No notes. That's it. All
right. This has been Crimson Comet, Episode 3. Join us next week as we discuss The Flash, Season 1, Episode 4, Going Rogue. Until then, I'm Haley.
I'm Lobster.
I'm Rum Daddy.
Bye.
Whoosh.
Thanks for listening. If you want to leave us feedback, you can find all of our contact information at crimsoncometpodcast.com. Find us on Twitter at Crimson Podcast or Facebook at facebook.com/Crimson Comet Podcast. Leave us a voicemail at 423-FLASH53. That's 423-352-7453. The opinions heard on this podcast are those of the individual host and do not represent Gonna Geek. The podcast is not affiliated with DC Comics, Warner Brothers, or the CW. No infringement is intended. The music heard is by Kevin MacLeod of Incompetech.com.
What up, y'all?
Hello.
Guess you remembered to hit record this week. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I'm hitting record too. There we go. That's it. That's right.
I haven't hit record. Do I have to record?
Yes.
That'd be nice. Look at us. Podcasting like we know what we're doing.
Hey.
Oh. Hey. Jung. Amazon redid their website. It looks a lot more like something from Squarespace right now.
What did they do to it?
It looks different. It's just...
Oh, yeah, it does. Don't like it. Change is bad.
Change is bad. Oh, you've redecorated. I don't like it. Jung.
Where's everybody going to school that offers all these cool classes? Because my schools did not have them.
She's in North Texas.
You're an engineer. She went to a liberal arts college. I
went to public universities.
Yeah, but you're an engineer major. You were an engineer.
I know, but even for electives, I couldn't find classes that were cool like this.
They kept those away from you because you aren't artsy like you're all numbers and shit.
That's true. Half of the fun of reading all these comics is keeping track of my reading statistics. I've got a graph that charts my reading progress compared to the publication rate from the 1960s.
Are you reading more than they put out?
Yeah.
Nice.
That's my goal. As long as I'm reading faster than they published at the time, I can potentially catch up.
In your lifetime.
In my lifetime.
John said put out. Jung.
Basically, the bad guy kills people by turning into a fart.
Jung. Just like that.
Except smoother.
Be all suave. All right.
There's laughter in the background of my living room.
Do you have an audience?
I do have an audience.
Recorded in front of a live studio audience.
Recorded in front of a live studio audience.
Chung chung.
If you'd like to check out our website. Guys, stop laughing. Do you hear this laughter behind me? Do you hear the giggling? All right.
Chung chung.
Was I huffing that guy's farts too?
Chung chung.
Well,
I think that's it.
is that all we're going to talk about?